My name is Tessa. I've got 2 children, a girl, Lily, and a boy, Eli. They're my life, my sense. I drive for a living. Not by choice, of course, but out of necessity. It all started exactly 4 weeks ago, when a single, desperate search on my phone led me down a path I never imagined. Now, every mile I drive is a measure of my failure, a slow, grinding reminder of a life that once had a desk, a warm office, and a sense of dignity. I am a chauffeur, a temporary vessel for lives far more comfortable than my own, and in a few short moments, I would become an invisible, emotional punching bag. The back door opened, and a gust of expensive perfume, cloying and sweet, filled the car, followed by the staccato rhythm of acrylic nails tapping a phone screen. "Yeah, Mom, I'm headed to the salon now. Hair color, lash lift, mani refresh. Basically half a day. Exhausting, but what can you do? Beauty's pain, right?" The girl in the back seat didn't even glance at me. They sent this beat-up car that feels like it's driving over gravel. Her words weren't about the road. They were a judgment on me, my car, my life. The next few weeks became a blur of endless roads and faceless passengers, each a harsh lesson in resilience. My mornings began before the sun, my days a monotonous loop of pickups and drop-offs. The hunger pangs were a constant companion, a dull, gnawing ache in my stomach I tried to ignore. Every rider, every mile, every grudging tip was a victory in a war I was losing. Sometimes, after a ride like the one with the girl in the faux fur coat, I would catch my own reflection in the rearview mirror and think, "You used to sit behind a desk, remember? It was a life that felt like a distant dream now. A time not long ago when I wore slacks and typed emails in a warm office, not thermal gloves gripping a cold steering wheel." I was a front desk associate at a local insurance firm. The job wasn't glamorous. It was stable. It paid just enough to get by if I stretched every dollar and skipped a few meals. I had my own little cubicle with a fake plant and a corkboard where Lily's crayon drawings hung like masterpieces. But then the economy dipped. Gas went up, rent crept higher, groceries became a battlefield of budgeting, Eli was growing, Lily needed new winter boots. I was losing ground, no matter how many hours I worked. The final straw was a Friday morning. I opened my banking app and saw the red numbers glaring back at me. I had 3 bills overdue and a mere $12 to my name. That night, I sat at the kitchen table long after the kids were asleep and did something reckless. I Googled how to make money fast in Boise. The results were what you'd expect, but one line stood out. Drive your car, make your schedule, earn daily. Within a week, I was filling out paperwork for a commercial license. I started driving nights and weekends, testing the waters. Then one Monday, I walked into the office, handed in my notice, and stepped out into the freezing morning with a strange mix of terror and relief. My mother didn't take it well. "You went to college for this? To cart strangers around like some motel shuttle?" she barked over the phone. "I went to college to survive," I replied flatly. "It wasn't a good job if it kept my kids hungry." Driving wasn't glamorous, no, but neither was being broke with 2 kids and no options. It was during this time, just as the last of my savings had vanished, that I met her. I had pulled over at a neighborhood grocery store for something cheap to eat in the car, a couple of cherry turnovers, and a small bottle of orange juice. The line was long. I stood behind a woman, bundled in a faded pink coat. At the checkout, the old woman fumbled through a coin purse, then stopped. Her shoulders slumped. She must have left her money at home. Without thinking, I stepped forward and tapped my card on the reader. "It's on me," I said. She turned slowly. Her eyes were sharp, pale blue, and held something that made me pause. Not confusion or gratitude, but a strange sort of clarity, like she was seeing something I couldn't. "You didn't have to do that," she said. She took the small bag with both hands, nodded once, and then smiled. "You'll be all right, sweetheart. Don't worry so much. You've already made the hardest choice." She was gone before I could even blink. I stood there, card in hand, my heart beating a little too fast for a moment that should have meant nothing. It was just bread, just oatmeal, just a kind gesture. And yet somehow it felt like something had been set in motion, something I couldn't explain. The weeks that followed were a race against the calendar. Eli had grown so weak that even the doctors stopped pretending. One of them, an older man with kind eyes and a quiet voice, sat me down in the hallway one evening. He said, "We've done everything we can. There's nothing left to try." I stared at him, refusing to cry, refusing to accept it. But deep inside, I was already grieving. It had been 2 nights since the doctor suggested bringing Eli home to die. I hadn't spoken much since. That afternoon, an older woman came to the hospital, to Eli. Same pink coat, same knitted beanie, same sharp blue eyes. But this time she looked even more certain, as if she had been planning this moment for years. "You came," I whispered. She smiled. I led Aunt Lucille upstairs, back into the sterile room where Eli lay motionless, pale against the white sheets. The old woman pulled a cloth bag from her arm. Inside was a metal dipper, a glass bottle of clear water, and a few linen cloths. "You're not afraid?" she asked me. "I've already lost him, so no, I'm not." She nodded. "Good. Then sit and don't interfere." She poured water into the dipper and dipped the cloth, gently pressing it to Eli's chest. Each time she repeated the process. Same water, same cloth, same steady hand. And each time, the water darkened less. On the 3rd day, Eli opened his eyes and asked for toast. On the 4th day, he sat up in bed and asked where his game tablet was. The doctors were stunned. Eli came home 3 days before Christmas. He walked into the house on his own, a little thinner than before, but with color back in his cheeks and light back in his eyes. I spent the next week doing something I hadn't done in years. Nothing. No alarms, no invoices, no double shifts. I cooked real food. I read books. I watched Eli and Lily build pillow forts and let myself breathe. On December 31st, my old supervisor from the grocery chain called and offered me a job, but I wanted a good salary. She grumbled, but however, accepted my conditions. That night, we bundled up in layers and drove through downtown Boise to see the lights. Streets sparkled with white and gold. Fireworks popped in the distance. People laughed and cheered into the freezing air. I stood still in the middle of it all, overwhelmed not by the noise, but the quiet inside me. For the first time in so long, I didn't feel like I was fighting. I wasn't scrambling or bracing for the next blow. I was just here, alive. I thought of Aunt Lucille. She left without a goodbye, just a nod at the door and a bowl of clear water in the sink. No return address, no trace, just healing in her wake. Wherever she was now, I hoped she was warm. I hoped she was loved. And more than anything, I hoped she knew what she had done. For Eli, for me, for all of us. I whispered it to the stars just in case they carried messages. Thank you. You were right. We're going to be okay. It was the hardest choice of my life, stepping into that unknown, trading security for a desperate gamble. And now I have to wonder, was the kindness I gave that day a simple gesture, or was it a seed I planted that finally bloomed into the miracle that saved my son? Could a single act of selfless compassion truly be the start of a domino effect of fate? The answer echoes within me, a quiet, insistent truth. But I'll never know for sure. I only know that I'm here, and he's here, and that's all that matters.